everybody, and welcome to our, I guess, second program this summer, focused on aging information and aging in community, and the Quechee Community Affairs Committee looking at how we can support our members who are aging. Anyway, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm Pam Vernon. I'm on the committee and have been participating in these, setting up these sessions. So I just want to briefly introduce our panel and just talk a little bit about what we're doing today. So as you see, the title for this is actually, we decided to put the word robust into our title because just local resources seem kind of boring. But robust local resources seems kind of interesting, and you will be amazed at how robust the resources that these guys represent and know about really are in the Upper Valley. It's pretty phenomenal. So who we have here is Len Brown, who's the Executive Director of the Bugbee Senior Center in White River Junction. Deanna Jones, who's the Executive Director of the Thompson Senior Center in Woodstock. And for us in Quechee, those are sort of the two centers that are most directly affiliated with us. And then Rebecca Desolitz, who's is that the right?
That is a beautiful pronunciation.
Wow. Who is a resource specialist from the Aging Resource Center at Dartmouth-Hitchcock, which again is just an incredible resource, and she's going to tell you about what they have. And we'll get started momentarily. So the other kind of home, whatever you call it, housekeeping is we are being, CATV is doing a video of this session. So, and we are hoping to have a good question and answer period as well. Each panelist will talk for about 20 minutes and then we'll have time for Q&A. If you have any concerns about being videoed and you have a question, somewhere we probably have some pieces of paper that you could put your question on paper, so just let us know.
We do.
Okay. Pat Peabody's on top of these things. Let's see, I was going to kind of go through the handouts, but I think you can see what's in your folder, the copies of the PowerPoints and then the information from Bugbee. On the back, there's also, on the right-hand side, there's also a listing of resources that are available in the community that was put together by the Quechee Health Foundation. And that's actually available at the Quechee Library. And Linda also did a list of books that are available at the Quechee Library in support of this program or related to this program. And then, very importantly, there is a evaluation form for this session, and we really, really want and appreciate your assessment and any suggestions you have for future programs, so please complete that. The Save the Date sheet tells you about our next programs. August 13th, we're doing My 5 Wishes. If I am unable to communicate, which is, and the agenda for that is in here, it's going to be really interesting. In September, we'll do estate planning, and then on October 1st, we have Dr. Dennis McCullough coming to talk about his book and his experience. And he's just an amazing person. So I think that's it. I think we can get started with our program, and when we get to the Q&A, you'll see me again.
My name's Lenny B.
Hi, Lenny B.
I was in a boys' choir once. Lasted for a day. My job is to set the bar low, so my good friends Deanna and Rebecca look really good. I'm the Executive Director of the White River Council on Aging, as was mentioned, and you have my brief kind of background info there, and I'd just like to amplify a couple of points. I moved up here to Vermont in 1978 with my wife, and we settled in the village of East Barnard, which is about 10 or 12 miles northwest of here. Sleepy little village, kind of on the east side of Barnard, and if I walk out my back door about 200 feet, I'm in North Pomfret. Beautiful little place, and we had been working and living in Connecticut. I was teaching in Bridgeport. My wife was working in the insurance industry in downtown Hartford, and we decided that we didn't mind the rat race, we just wanted one that was a little smaller. So here we came to Vermont. I had a career in education before I retired at the end of the 2004 and 2005 school year, and as my father would say, he had risen to his highest levels of incompetence. I was a superintendent of school for several years before I finally decided it was time to do something else. The White River Council on Aging is known, as it was mentioned, as the Bugbee Senior Center. And there's a story behind that, and whenever I speak to a group, I always tell the story, because people ask. The White River Council on Aging is the not-for-profit corporate name, and we were formed around 1973. And initially, the council met in a couple of church basements, and we served meals and did Meals on Wheels and had some activities. There was a gentleman in town named Dr. Bugbee. He passed away in 1954, and at one point he was the only dentist in town. He never married, he didn't have children, and he left a sum of money to the town of Hartford. And his only proviso was that it be used to build a building for the community and be named after him. And in the 1970s, the selectmen appointed a committee that decided to build the senior center where it sits now at the corner of North Main Street and 5 and 4 that goes across the bridge. And that's how it became known as the Bugbee Senior Center. It opened in December of 1980. And Doc Bugbee's picture and actually his obituary hang on our wall. I don't know who mounted them there, but we're certainly grateful to him. And I've actually had some relatives wanting to know about Doc Bugbee. He was born in Hewittville, not far from here, and that's where he has been buried in the family plot up there. Our purpose, as expressed in our Articles of Association, and I'm paraphrasing here, is to provide services to folks 60 years and older so that they can live independently in the community and participate. But I say there's one more thing, and since I've gotten there, I've always said this. It's about having a good time. When you come to the center, if you're not having a good time, you get sent to my office. And people say, you're not the principal anymore. I said, well, yeah, but you still got sent to the office. I really believe that, and I tell people we're a teen center for older folks. We want people to come in and enjoy themselves, enjoy the company. We like to put out a meal that, I'm not an advocate of this, is well-rounded. There's a vegetable. Mother always told me if it's turning green, it's probably going bad. But we do have green vegetables. A lot of it's comfort food, and it's reviewed by nutritionists, as Deanna's is. And there's always a little creative tension between me and the nutritionist over the menu, because I like my birthday cake heavy on the frosting without any fruit involved, even if it is good for you. I always say that the cornerstone of what we do is our nutrition program. Our last fiscal year, we served just under 29,000 meals. And about 16,000 of them went out the door to people who receive Meals on Wheels. And not only is the meal important, but the contact. We had a meal driver call in sick today, so I did a route. I was the only person, I'm sure, that a few of those people saw today. And so I always tell the drivers, it's not just about getting the meal out there. It's about laying your eyes on a person, making sure they're okay. I'm looking at notes, and normally I just talk. Here's a couple of folks that have been in and have seen my act. Everybody here has a copy of our newsletter, and in the summertime we do a 2-month newsletter. The rest of the year we do a monthly. It has the complete menu, including the green stuff, but it also has the activities. And this is our homepage on the website. If you ever want to see a future newsletter, there's a few ways to get it. I'm going to insert that in the conversation right here. on the button that says Center, and I'm doing this lefty and I'm a righty, if you would click on Bugby Bulletin, it will give you a list of our most recent newsletters. So if you're computer savvy and you would like to look at some prior newsletters in addition to what you have tonight, you can go back a few months. It's always there. It's there before people who are on our mailing list actually get it. That's probably the most significant part of the website. If you are computer savvy, I'd encourage you to browse around. We have a section on frequently asked questions, a section on all our different services there, and some photos. So there's some different places that you can just, if you're sitting at your computer, browse around our website. I hope to change this in the near future, but if you go home tonight or tomorrow and you want to look at some of our history, it's in there for you to look at. I won't go through it in front of you here. You're certainly able to do that yourself. In addition to the nutrition program, we run a lot of enrichment activities, and we've got things that are going on that I would have never dreamed would actually get traction, like bingo. Now, last night we had a special opening and we had bingo, and I think we had 80 people playing bingo. So all I got to do is wander through the room and yell bingo at the wrong time, and I'm in trouble. And I do it all the time. We have Tai Chi classes, we have some art classes, we have a regular club that meets there monthly, and actually the person who facilitates that is the Quechua librarian, Marika Sperry. And she's in monthly to do that, along with keeping some Quechua library books there that people can check out of the center. We have a poetry group, and they say stuff that rhymes. So I go through and make trouble with that group as well. We have a cooperative relationship with the Upper Valley Aquatic Center, and we provide some aqua aerobics. That's an example of something we started that when we started I thought, this won't necessarily get a lot of traction. We're in our 5th year, and it's pretty much throughout the year. We take a little break in the winter because folks have told us in the deep dark days of January they don't necessarily like to get out of the pool and move to the car. But for the most part, it's a 12-month program. We have a quilters group, and there are some photos of their handiwork that are on this website. And they are very, very skilled. They create quilts that, and they meet weekly. They go over to the Billings Farm and other places where there are juried competitions. And so they're working on a truck bed liner for me, and I don't know, they keep moving me toward the rear of their list, but eventually I'm going to get it. Probably that'll be my retirement gift, I guess. We also have a van, and we do some transport. We're able to do local transport into the center for folks. Mostly, though, we use it for medical transport, local physicians, and to the hospitals, the VA, Dartmouth Hitchcock, APD. So that van is on the road every day, bringing people into the center or to their medical appointments, including private physicians. We had a great van driver. People love him, been doing it for years. And he's very good with folks in helping them on and off the van if they have groceries, because we do make a couple of shopping runs for people who don't drive. And he helps them out of the store, into the van, into the house. Just a good guy. We do provide some social services. The one I think is the most important is when the open enrollment period happens, our phone rings off the hook. And we have a person who understands how to get people connected to the right supplemental plan particularly. And so during that open enrollment period, if you are here, need some assistance, don't hesitate to give us a shout. She provides one-on-one counseling, and I use that word guardedly, specific to any individual's needs to get you the right plan that you need. And I don't understand any of it. When it's my time, I'm going to need some help because I don't know the insurance business at all. And so it's a challenge for everybody. My mom was in the insurance business for 30 years, and she said, I don't get it. And she needed help. So complicated life, complicated plans, complicated choices. Finally, we do loan out medical equipment. We have stuff that's fairly small, everything from walkers, we have some wheelchairs, bedside commodes. We have things that I don't know what they're for, but I know that people like the visiting nurse come in and know how to use them. And so there are things that we're donated, and I look at them, and I look at my administrative assistant, and I say, don't ask me. But we put it downstairs, and then an OT, a nurse, a PT from the visiting nurse may come in and know exactly how it's used. We had a fellow, and this is a funny story, he was a PT at Mount Scottney Hospital. He drove up on his motorcycle a couple of summers ago, and he took out a whole bunch of equipment. He had bungee cords all over the place. And as you can probably tell from the logo, I Ride. He drove home with a bedside commode on the back of his motorcycle. And it was one of the oddest looking things I've ever seen on two wheels. I'm sure there are people who thought, he must have a problem. I'll just give you a brief overview of our financial picture, because that's a fairly unique circumstance that the Bugby Center is in. We're kind of a hybrid. While we're a not-for-profit corporation, we also enjoy considerable town support. The building is owned by the town. We pay a nominal rent for the administrative space. And then the town supports us two ways. They give us a general appropriation for our programs, and they also pay some of the costs of running the building. So they pay the heat and the lights. They pay for the plowing and the trash. Any kind of capital improvement, a breakdown, we're covered. And not every senior center enjoys that pleasure. And so I'm grateful to the taxpayers and the select board and town officials for the unique arrangement that we have there. But we also count on donations. About 44% of our income comes from our meals, both in terms of federal reimbursements and what folks actually put in the box when they come in. And we also do an annual campaign, and some of you, I'm sure, have gotten correspondence from me on that. That goes out at the end of September, early October, where we solicit donations from folks who are property owners in town. So that's an overview of the Bugby Senior Center. I always tell people, if you want to know more than you know after I've spoken, come on down. That's my mantra. Come on down, have a good time, check in with us. Thank you.
So, first of all, can you see over me to see the slides? Okay, I think I'll sit then so that I can run the slides and not be in the way of the screen. So, my name is Deanne, and I've been at the Thompson Senior Center for 5 years. And one of the first visits I made was to meet Len at the Bugby Center and figure out how to get started as the director of a senior center. I'd been at Dartmouth-Hitchcock for 3 years prior, and then I was at Kendall at Hanover for 10 years before that. So although I think all of the work that I've done, it really has been so beneficial to being the director of a senior center. It was my first go-around at being an executive director. And Len was great, and it's true, he is the life of the party, and people love him and his center. So here I am speaking after you. But Len has been Len has been a bit of a mentor, and anytime I didn't, know how to handle something, or we didn't have a procedure in place, I called Len first. So it's nice to be here speaking with him. So first of all, I'll start off by saying, it certainly is a complicated thing to navigate sometimes. If you look at all these words on the screen between Medicare and insurances and things that Len has touched on, You know, it's not all easy to just do it on your own, and many people don't go into this with a plan. I think it's interesting, you know, we go to college to prepare for our career, we take birthing classes, we do all these other things, but not a lot of people, you know, really put early on thought into their plan for aging in place. But the fact is, according to AARP's surveys, most, you know, the majority, close to 90% of people want to live and age in place in their home. And I think that's where Len and I and, you know, Rebecca, we all, you know, we're here to try to support people in doing that. So my presentation, I've sort of focused around what you need to be able to do that and the things that we offer to help. You probably are very familiar with the definition of what aging in place or aging in community means, but those words are often used interchangeably. And it's really having the ability to remain in your own home in spite changes that happen in your life throughout the spectrum of aging. So I break it out when I talk in public about aging at home up to these bubbles that you're seeing. You know, finances, Medicare and insurances, just the basics of living at home, community engagement, mobility or transportation, your nutrition, and healthcare and wellness. So these are sort of those key things that almost everything falls into. So that's how I'm going to approach it today for the next few minutes. Our mission statement at the Thompson Center is to act as a resource. We're there for so many programs and services, but we're also there to help you find the right resource. So we do a lot of referrals. We act as a resource and advocate for our senior population, providing timely support on issues that affect aging in a rural community. Really, you know, one of the challenges we find is, you know, not everyone lives in the center of towns, and you know, that creates a unique challenge when there's not public transportation in particular. Our programs and activities promote physical, intellectual, and social well-being of the adult community to enhance dignity, self-worth, and independence. And we're a community gathering place as well. So, what the Thompsons' role in all these bubbles of aging, you know, we offer something in every one of those bubbles, or can refer you to something in every one of those bubbles, depending on what you're looking for. And one of the most interesting things to me is that we serve over 1,000 people a year, and we have about between 800 and 900 regular participants that come, you know, on a fairly regular basis. But they all come to us for something different. We have people from 50 to 95 that use the center, and that's a wide variety of ages and interests and needs. So some people might come weekly, some people come daily, and some people we see every few months. But as I go through this, you'll see there's a lot of different reasons to come, and I think if people are knowing that we're there and coming to us when they need us, then that's what we're there for. And I'm so proud that people do know to come to us and all the things that we can offer to help. So I'm going to look at each one of those bubbles individually and tell you what we offer that can be of assistance. In the finances bubble there, we do tax preparations every year, beginning at the end of January, beginning of February, and maybe at Bugby as well, where you can set up an appointment to have tax counseling if your taxes are not overly complicated, and they'll prepare your taxes for free. We have one volunteer that's been doing that for 20 years, the same volunteer, and they're just amazing, a number of people that they can see in that service that they provide. Throughout the year, we do a number of financial planning talks. This spring, we had a series on spring cleaning your legal affairs, and we did the 5, that was a series that a local local lawyer who has an elder law specialty spoke about the top 5 planning documents and estate planning, long-term care options. So we try to change those up a little bit, not offering the same thing every year, but we do a number of talks that are open to the public that anyone can come and participate in. on the finance or legal topics. We do offer some free legal aid clinics about twice a year, and we've done, we do quite a few referrals throughout the year. If finances are an issue, we have some partners that offer grants for different types of assistance. And then on the Medicare and insurance topic, we also, like Len, offer Medicare D open enrollment counseling beginning in October, and the counselor will look at the specific drugs that you're on and help make sure that you're on the best plan and get you signed up for that so that you don't have to navigate all that on your own. It's not just related to Medicare. If you have supplemental insurances, they can work with you on finding the right supplemental insurance. It's just, that is an incredible service, and we're very happy to offer that. Let's see. In the category of wellness and healthcare, this is pretty robust at the Senior Center too. You'll see a few pictures here of some of the exercise programs. And right there in the middle with the pink ball is Liz, one of our inspectors, who also teaches classes here. So Liz teaches a class 3 times a week. I'm happy to see you here, Liz. And I'll go into a little bit more about the fitness opportunities that we offer. But we also focus quite a bit on fall prevention throughout the year. We have monthly blood pressure checks where you can just check in to have that done. Annual flu shots, and then at least once a year, vision and hearing screenings as well. We offer a variety of services just to help you with the basics of living at home. One of the most common questions, or not most common, but oftentimes people, especially if a spouse has passed away, or that home maintenance piece of how do I clean my gutters, or how do I move this furniture. We work a lot with the Woodstock Area Job Bank and other volunteer groups that we can help find people to do those kind of things. So that's a good partnership. And then we have just some terrific volunteers at the Senior Center that we can call on to be of assistance in random ways. Sometimes we get calls about, can I leave my plants with you while I'm away for this? So I think people will, once they know, call senior centers for just about anything. But it really keeps things interesting. There is never a dull moment. We also have a medical equipment and donation and a program that people come in and pick up shower chairs, or I've never seen anyone pick one up on a wheelchair or a motorcycle, but maybe that's not our crowd, I don't know. But it is great because people oftentimes, if they have that equipment, they don't want to put it in the garbage. So it fills the landfill, and we're happy to take it and pass it on to someone else who will use it. And people are so grateful for that too, not to have that expense, especially if you have surgery or you're recovering and you don't need it for an extended period. You can pick it up and have it for 4 weeks and then bring it back. So we do also work with the Ottauquechee Health Foundation, and their name's been mentioned already tonight too, for a caregiver referral service. So whether you find that you need a lot of assistance at home, or just maybe housekeeping, light, duty sort of support, we can help find someone that can do that kind of thing on a private basis, or make recommendations for an agency that might do that as well. The nutrition program is a cornerstone of our senior center too, and I would say it was like when you start college and gain the freshman 15 for me as an employee there. The meals are so good and the desserts look so wonderful that it's hard to refrain, so I had to learn to pace myself and not have dessert every day because that's a little dangerous. But our chef, pictured there in the corner, Ryan Martin, is a graduate of the New England Culinary Institute, and he worked as a sous chef at Simon Pierce before he came to us full-time. So he's a very talented chef and just does a wonderful job with variety. Not all heavy meals, a lot of lighter fare too, but we work with a dietitian to make sure it's a well-balanced meal. And there's probably too much green in there for Len, but we enjoy it, and you can take off the green if you visit. We do have daily meals served in the dining room at noon, and we have about 40 people that come a day, each day. The Meals on Wheels that Len talked about, we serve about 8,000 a year, and then the rest of our meals, we're serving more meals in the dining room itself, and not as many going out to homes. But we have 4 routes throughout the communities that we serve that get Meals on Wheels as well. And we work with the food bank to deliver commodities boxes to about 20 homes in the area that receive supplemental food each month, and the Woodstock Food Shelf for a grocery program for anyone in need of those services. We'd invite you all to come to the senior center. There's no income threshold. No age limits. People bring younger family members with them. We have people of all ages that come to the center and from all towns. Last year, we served people from 31 different Vermont and New Hampshire towns that came in to have meals at the senior center, which I think is so interesting. We have groups often that come from Killington or Chittenden that just, once a month they stop and visit us. So it's a really interesting and dynamic group of people that have lunch there. If you're 60 and over, we ask for a $5 donation for the lunch. And if you're under 60, it's a $7 charge. But you don't have to make a reservation, and we do welcome groups. If you have any dietary restrictions or vegetarian or gluten intolerance, we ask you to call ahead so that the chef can prepare something good for that. But it's definitely a program that I'm very proud of, and the food is just wonderful. Sometimes I think the socialization aspect is overlooked at senior centers a little bit. People really focus on meals and transportation, but I just find that people that are involved with us versus people that I've gone to see at home that aren't really engaged in the community, people that come to the center are so happy, and I don't have anyone come to the principal's office if they're not happy, but it's a great group of people that's just so, they're so interesting and so many different backgrounds that I think it would be hard to go and not find some joy in it in some way. In the social programs, we offer some very interesting dinner engagements, about 4 a year with special guest speakers. This past year we had Bob Hager, the NBC News correspondent, give his top 10 emergency situations. He's covered all kinds of flight crashes and just major world events, and he gave his top 10 list, and we had a wonderful dinner before. And we've had Ben Killam, the bear guy from Mime, talk, and we had a producer and director of a film and then showed the film once. So we have an interesting group of dinner programs. If that's something you're interested in, you might watch the program for those things. We do offer a variety of classes and lifelong learning type of opportunities, language classes, art classes. They're on different schedules throughout the year. And then just some fun, book club, a memoir group, bridge groups, and then lots of volunteering opportunities if you're interested in that. We have a major fundraiser in February that's an elegant Valentine gala and auction. So if that would be something you'd be interested in, we'd love to invite you to that. So make a note if you give me your contact information. There's just so many things going on, something for everyone really. I think this is my last category. Transportation, like Len, we offer some door-to-door transportation. We do quite a bit with volunteers, especially if it's just out of our area a little bit. We get volunteer drivers, so we have some Quechee volunteers, and we do give some Quechee rides. We have a van as well that goes through Quechee twice a month for West Lebanon shopping trips, and you just have to call the center to get signed up for those. And then we offer a number of travel trips to Boston to see a play, or we went to see the Rockettes in New York for Christmas. we usually go to Maine for lobster once in the summer, and then we have a fall foliage trip. So we do a variety, about 4 a year, similar to Bugby. So this is in your handout, and these are just sort of 3 areas I wanted to call out to give you a little more detail on, and this is where Liz comes into it too. Our fitness opportunities, the very first one, Strength and Fitness, is the class that Liz teaches. That's 3 times a week at 9 in the morning. We have a bone builders class at 3 in the afternoon, 2 days a week. We offer yoga and have a walking group. Tai Chi meets once a week, and we have water aerobics as well, once a week on Fridays. So I think we all know fitness and staying active is such a key part of your healthy aging, and this, I think, offers something for everyone. The ongoing support, we've touched on a little bit. We also offer advanced directives counseling, which is a one-on-one opportunity to have all your questions answered about your end-of-life care and make your wishes known and documented. That's on Monday afternoon, and you just have to call for an appointment. We have 4 very skilled counselors. 2 are retired physicians that can talk you through that and help you get those filed if you haven't done that. We have a caregiver support group that meets monthly on Wednesdays, and we serve them lunch, and we have a social worker and a retired nurse that facilitate that group. And then another interesting thing that didn't really fit in anywhere in particular was our weekly language tables. In the dining room at noon, each 4 days, we have native speakers and people who are learning, people who don't want these language skills to get rusty, but we have Spanish, French, Italian, and German. And along with those go some fun things like a phenomenal Oktoberfest in October with beer and steins, and so they're really, they keep things kind of interesting. But you're welcome to join any of those tables. They meet every, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, depending on what language you speak. And one of the things that was you might know Rita Post, who lives here in Quechee. She comes to more than one table, and I know she wouldn't mind me saying, because I've said, I want to make you the poster girl of the senior center. She's a beautiful lady, and she's involved in a number of things, and she's been coming longer than I've been here. But she said, I wish I started coming 10 years ago. She enjoys it so much. And that was really, meant a lot to me that, she's a young person and she just has been so happy there. I asked if you'd like to sign up for either our paper newsletter or our weekly e-newsletter. On Fridays we send out, this is just a little snapshot of what a weekly calendar looks like, the programs that are happening, and then the meal. We send that out every Friday for the following week. If you'd like to sign up for that or our paper newsletter, I left a sign-up sheet here, and I'd love to have you sign up for the mailing list if you'd like to be on it. I won't go through all of this again. I've mentioned quite a few of the partners. Obviously, we couldn't do all of this without many community partners, but we're engaged with many groups throughout the Upper Valley to provide all these services. And if it's not a service we provide, then we would connect with one of these groups in this bubble to help provide a service. And last but not least, you're definitely invited, just like Glenn said, come on down. We're open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. There's no limits on where you're from or what age you are. We do not discriminate on any ages. We love them all. And we're located near the Woodstock High School and Union Arena, just next to the Jackson House Inn. And if you're curious or on Facebook, you can check out what's happening there. We do quite a bit on Facebook, which is a lot of fun. And I guess, in closing, I think it's really, I feel like it's an honor to work there, and it's a good place to be myself. I have 3 little boys, and they spend time with me there. It's a lot of, it's great for them, and I think the seniors too, but people do come for all reasons, and whether you see yourself as someone that's old enough to go to a senior center or not, we welcome anyone. You know, some people just come and get on we have free Wi-Fi in the library. You know, they just are there for that and a cup of coffee or to do some visiting. But we welcome you for any reason. So thank you.
I want to go to the senior centers now. So when one of my friends heard that I was coming here tonight, she told me she had two little pieces of advice. She said, Len's a character, and she also said that to enjoy the food because they'll probably have some food there. So she was right on both counts. So I'm a resource specialist at the Aging Resource Center, which is from Dartmouth-Hitchcock, and but we're not in the hospital building itself. We're in Centera Parkway. And to get there, I'll kind of talk through directions, but please, if you ever do want to visit us, give us a call because it's a little hard to get to us. So most people know where the co-op is in Lebanon in Centera Parkway, so that's my reference point. You want to pass the co-op and just keep on going. It'll be on your right, and so will margaritas, and you keep on going until you get to a yield sign, where you'll take a right and take a left into our parking lot. You're going to forget that, so if you want to come, you can give us a call, and you should all have our phone number on your sheet. We're open Monday through Friday from 9 to 4, and if you can't make it during those hours, just give us a call. Usually somebody is there earlier and later than that, but we just need to have a little bit of a heads up. So the photos that you see there are of our space. We have a really beautiful space, and we entered our building in 2010 and got a group of community members together and asked what they wanted it to look like. And there was an overwhelming response of, we don't want it to feel clinical because we are part of the hospital. So that was duly noted, and right down to the cushions on the couch, our community members chose what our space would look like. And it's really a reflection. When people come in, they really do comment on how peaceful and comfortable our space is. And I like working there too. So here's what we provide. Our target audience is older adults and their family members. And we provide health and caregiver education. We connect people to community resources. So if people can't find what they're looking for through the Aging Resource Center, we know who to refer them to for the most part. We provide information and support, and I'm going to get a lot deeper into some of these, and then we help people navigate the healthcare system. So we all need a goal in doing this, and our main goal is to help people take care of themselves better and live the lives that they want to live. And then, of course, there are so many family caregivers out there. We want to help reduce the burden of family caregivers. So we have a lending library, which is really well stocked. We got grants to cover this library, and it covers so many different subjects. It's such a great library, and just like any other library, it's a 3-week lending period. It's all free. You can call and renew if nobody else is interested in that book. It's yours for as long as you need it. One of our volunteers brought this piece up. We have postage paid return mailers. So if you're living sort of far away from the center, you know that you're just not going to be able to make it back, you can take one of these return mailers with you, and it's sort of like Netflix for library books. You can just like throw it in the mail and it will get back to us. And we can also get books to you if you call them in. So if you're interested in a particular book and you can't make it to our center, you just give us a call and we'll send it to you in the mail. So the books kind of come and go here at our center. And if there's any book that you are interested in and we don't have in our collection, don't be shy about asking us about it. We do continually get small grants to cover the cost of books. So we listen to people when they tell us what they want, and we try to get that for them. And if you walk into our center, here are some things that we just could offer you. We have the Dartmouth Memory Handbook, which is a handbook edited by Dr. Santulli, who is a now retired geriatric psychiatrist from DHMC. He put together this really comprehensive handbook on dementia. And I would say I give one away every single day that I'm working there. It's a great resource to have. It's nothing I would ever recommend that somebody read cover to cover, but it's really a good thing to have and refer to if you need to, if you're caring for somebody with dementia or if you have dementia yourself. We have these things called a vial of life, which people look at them and they look like pill bottles, and yes, they're like that on purpose. Does anybody in here have one of these or has seen? Yeah, okay. So what is inside is a little piece of paper with space for all of your medical information. So whether you have advanced directives, whether you have allergies, what medications you take. And the purpose of this thing is if an EMT comes to your house and you can't verbalize all of these things, they will see a magnet on your refrigerator which will indicate to them to look in there for that vial of life. They'll grab it and take it with them so that they know what the medical history is. We have advanced directives forms, and not just that, there are a couple of us on staff that are trained facilitators for this program that Dartmouth Hitchcock has started called Honoring Care Decisions. And it's to facilitate a conversation about your advanced care planning. And so that will take somebody from the very early stages of thinking about what's important to them at the end of life to really filling out those documents. And it's not a quick process. So we also have some exercise DVDs. People will come in and they'll want to get a little more exercise, but maybe feel embarrassed to go out and exercise in front of people. So we have a couple of options, and they're just giveaways. One of which comes with a sort of like a stretch band. And then we have just some informational pamphlets that you're welcome to take if you come into the Aging Resource Center. So something that we do offer is individualized assistance. People can come into our center and ask any number of questions, and if we cannot answer those questions, we will figure out who can, or we will search for it for you. So here's a sort of some examples of what people ask us as they walk in through the door. So like that chart shows, by and large, a lot of the questions we get are around caregiving, dementia, Alzheimer's disease. And the reason is, I believe, just from my experience, is that is sort of one of the more difficult things to cope with. So people need to be talking about it a lot. And then people come in and they ask us questions about long-term care planning. What are my living options for the future? If they have a particular chronic illness, they want to know a little more about it. They ask us about that. Now, these categories that are up there do not take into account three folks who get direct referrals at our center. And one is the Parkinson's Center, another is our chaplain, and then a third one was the Alzheimer's Association used to have an office at our center. So we have a chaplain on staff, and her name is Jeannie Childs. And it's so important think about healthy aging not just in terms of our bodies, but in terms of our minds and spirits as well. So Jeannie meets one-on-one with people, and she'll take any sort of question or have any sort of discussion that causes spiritual distress. So any like major life changes, people will call and say, you know what, I just retired and I have no idea, I can't even handle this because my life is so different now, and I don't have any meaning in my life because my life was work. That's what my life was, the meaning of my life. So she'll sit and talk one-on-one with people and then refer people out to the appropriate support groups. And Jeannie does also facilitate a lot of our support groups at the center. Dianne Sherman works for neurology at DHMC, and she works also out of our office. So she does one-on-one consultations with people. She coordinates educational programs, and she also has a great mailing list where she lets everybody know about all of the different Parkinson's events in the community. And probably the biggest part of what we do at the Aging Resource Center is that we offer some great programs. Every spring and fall, we come out with a roster of classes, usually about 40 to 50 classes, and they're in the following categories. The first and probably the biggest category for us is healthy aging. And this is anywhere from exercise classes, and you'll see this is sort of just a sample list of what we offer. I will say, if you're ever interested in any of the like movement classes that we offer, register very early. We always have long waiting lists, and we just can't possibly meet the demand for, everybody seems to want to be moving. So just as a FYI, a tip, register early for those ones. We celebrate Falls Prevention Day, which is the first day of fall. And this year we'll be having a lecture by Donna Pigeon. She's a physical therapist at DHMC, and we're going to screen people for their falls risk as well. And then there's a few more classes up there, and if you're interested in these classes and finding out more, you can join our mailing list, and we'll mail you a brochure when it comes out. Our brochure will be out at the end of August. That's when we're mailing the fall brochure. So planning ahead is very important. We often see people in crisis situation, and we say, ooh, if you had only done this, you know, in our heads, not out loud. So a little planning can go a really long way, and it's just so beneficial to plan ahead. So here, we've talked a lot about aging in place. We're going to be having a lecture on how to do that. What are some things to be thinking about if you want to stay in your home as you age? And then an always popular class is one on downsizing, because no matter where you're going to live, everybody seems to have too much stuff and stuff that they need to get rid of. I do. I've only lived in my house for like 2 years, and I have a basement full of stuff. So it's something everybody can enjoy and benefit from. And then, like I said, we have some counselors on advanced care planning, and we're going to be giving a walkthrough on that. So one of the biggest pieces of what we offer is we do a lot of different programs for dementia, and we're going to actually be even bringing in even more programs. So Dr. Santulli, who I've mentioned before, he's a retired geriatric psychiatrist, still isn't quite retired because he's doing so much for the community still. He's starting up a chorus called The Recollections, and that's for people who have dementia along with the family member or caregiver. And both aren't required to participate, but welcome to. Once a month, we run a program called the Upper Valley Memory Cafe for people who have dementia, their family members, caregivers, whoever wants to come actually. And it includes breakfast, some great activities, and usually some sort of entertainment, like a music group or a dance group. And then he also started up a program at Dartmouth College called Perspectives, and a student docent takes people around to look at the different artwork and really go through them and talk about them together as a group. So again, a lot of great programs, a lot of great classes. As I mentioned before, we can't forget about the mind and spirit if we're talking about healthy aging. So we always offer some classes on mental and spiritual health. And we've just started up some great technology and aging programs. We have a program called Tech Coaching where a high school student will meet with somebody and go through whatever technology questions they have. So people will often bring in their iPhone and be like, how do I drag this to here? And the students, they, you know, no training required, they know everything, and they know how to Google what they don't already know. So it's a great partnership. And again, we love to offer arts programs because it's just so important to include arts, especially when talking about healing and really taking care of yourself. Oh, we offer a lot. We have several support groups. These are your traditional support groups. Some of them you do have to call ahead. Some of them are drop-in. If you ever have a question about a particular support group, just give us a call and we can give you more information about those. And finally, a lot of people can't make it to our center, and we understand that. The Upper Valley is geographically large, and some people just don't have the transportation or way to get to our center. So we do offer some of our classes via live web feed. So if you have a home PC and an internet connection, you can watch from the comfort of your home. In our program guide, you can tell which classes those are because they have a little video icon next to them. I think this is my very last one. So in addition to all of these other things that we offer, we do have a great partnership with the medical school and with the college. And we get groups of people together to mentor future doctors, people who want to be doctors in the future, whether they're undergraduates or they're in the med school. And through different activities, and it gives the students the opportunity to get to know what the real issues are with older adults so that they can be better doctors. So that's all I have, and thank you so much for listening. We do have an open house, if I've enticed you, on Wednesday, September 9th, starting at 1:30. You can drop in any time. And it's also going to be an art show, and we're going to have some singers there as well. And always food. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I think that this was pretty good. You guys were good in preparing for this. Linda and I actually visited each of the senior centers with Len and Deanne, and we visited the Aging Resource Center, and I have to say, I'm really happy. It sort of got me to go over there. I'd already been to Thompson every once in a while, but it was beautiful. And they're all very impressive. So anyway, now we're at the Q&A session, and I see we have something over here.
I have a question for Mr. B.
For Mr. B.
My question is, as a resident of West Hartford community, in terms of your definition of your service area, are there home-delivered meals or transportation services available for me if I need them?
Yeah, we actually do have a person out in West Hartford now. We have several Meals on Wheels routes, and we have a route that we refer to as the Queechee route that actually comes out here past the club and delivers a couple of meals. I think 2 streets down, I think it's Hillside. And then we go over this road here that I think is called Red Barn Road down into West Hartford. So I call it scooping the loop. We actually come out, hit some places on Route 4, come out here through the village and then out to West Hartford.
Thank you.
And we do transport people from West Hartford as well. Yes.
Thank you.
Other questions?
I just want to ask, when in Woodstock, when is the German speaking class in Woodstock?
Friday. Friday at noon. Every Friday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. I have a question for Rebecca. When you have all of the help for especially legal documents and things like that, are you able at the center in Centero Park to handle Vermont issues? Because I was there one time to get a flu shot, and I came in and the gal that was there was very, very nice, and she said that she couldn't handle any of the questions that I have because I lived in Vermont.
So the advanced care planning,
Yes, it was the documents that
right, the advanced directives. So there are 2 people in our office now. We have both documents. We have the New Hampshire and the Vermont. And actually, I personally find the Vermont forms preferable because they're much more robust and make a lot more, So, yes, the answer is yes.
And it sounds like actually for the advanced directives, for assistance with the advanced directives, people can get assistance at each of the senior centers as well and at the Aging Resource Center. And last year we actually held a workshop literally going through the Vermont Advanced Directives step by step with Betsy Burkhart and Scotney through the Ottauquechee Health Foundation. We're talking about doing that again. So it'd be interesting to know if people want to do a workshop here again. And that was, you might, even after that workshop, want to go in and get some one-on-one assistance with actually completing it. But it was really lots of good questions with Betsy Burkhart.
What were the hours of your open house?
1:30 to 4. So Wednesday, September 9th, 1:30 to 4.
Yeah, and I would encourage everybody, anybody who go to go to that. After being over there and sort of paying more attention to it, I actually went to a workshop or a seminar on understanding dementia because I've been working, spending a lot of time with my mother, who's really beginning to lose her memory. And it was incredibly helpful to just have information, real information about what that means and what it is, and all that stuff. Other questions?
I think I can project, but it sounds to me that you guys, between the senior centers and the Centers for Aging, could answer almost any question that one would have about aging or even some medical issues or legal issues. But I don't know that word has gotten out. So could you tell me how you, what your sort of marketing plan is to get the word out to every man or every person, excuse me, to let them know that you are this great resource?
So for us, word of mouth has always been our greatest marketing tactic. So the more people come in and tell their friends about us, the more people find out about it. We also find that people pick up our program brochures, either in their doctor's office, in the hospital. We mail them out to different community-based organizations. And what brings people to us is they find a class of interest, and then we can sort of expand on that. And then we're very fortunate to have DHMC on our side because they put our classes in the Valley News, so that doesn't hurt either. But marketing is something that's always been a struggle for us. Just getting the word out there. We haven't quite 100% figured that out yet. So always open to suggestions as well. So I look forward to hearing what you're.
Well, I think it's similar. We try to put information out in the Valley News and in the Vermont Standard. We have the Facebook page that I mentioned, and we mail our newsletter to about 1,000 homes. But there's still always a stigma that I find with senior centers, and people thinking it's for old people. I mean, I had a woman who was 91 tell me one time she didn't feel old enough to go. So it's overcoming that. And I think people, like I mentioned, read a post. If you come one time, you're pretty likely to see that your peers and equals and friends and colleagues, would be there. And I think that word of mouth is the best. I do have a wonderful, no staff to do this, but a wonderful board that I have some volunteers on, a marketing committee, and we're working on a different approach that we're calling the Faces of Thompson, where we've interviewed and we're going to be having some posters and some postcard mailings just to show that vibrant group of people from 50 to 95. And we're hoping that maybe that in the marketing department will help show the people that are actually using the senior center. So if you're not on our mailing list, of course we'd love to add you, but maybe that'll help us get the word out a little bit more too.
Well, marketing's definitely a non-strength for us, which is sometimes called a weakness. First, I don't advertise, and I tell prospective businesses that want me to advertise that I don't advertise. So much like the other two agencies, we rely on our newsletter, which you can sign up for here tonight, or our website. But there are local media that do publish for free our major activities. So if you look, for example, in Valley News, you see the calendar, and you'll see things that are going on at all of the places. Our newsletter goes out between the hard copy mailing and the electronic delivery system to about 1,800 people. And then our interactions with local government agencies, in our case I mentioned our relationship with Hartford, but also the town of Norwich, Heartland, and Thetford for us, gets us out on local media like the access television stations that cover those areas. And then, very importantly, meetings like this. And I saw this as an opportunity to get the word out to a corner of our world and perhaps some people that didn't know much about us. And I'm seeing some faces here that I do recognize, but also some that I don't. And that gets the word out too.
Any other questions? I just wanted to ask a quick question about the Meals on Wheels program. Because as the Meals on, that food program is a federal program, right, that's administered through the state area agencies on aging. So you guys are sort of receive funding specifically for certain areas. And that's what, when you said Thetford and Heartland and Norwich. So is your Meals on Wheels grants for Hartford, just Hartford? And
no, actually our catchment area for Meals on Wheels goes down to the village of North Heartland on Route 5, all of Hartford, Norwich, and Thetford. Now, I believe that there are some folks who get their Meals on Wheels, like in Heartland Hill, from Deanne's program at Thompson, and then another part of Heartland gets it out of Windsor. So, to be honest with you, I don't know who drew the lines, and having worked with the government of Vermont for 30 years, I've never understood how they drew some lines. I'm not sure they understood how they drew the lines. But the lines have been drawn, and so those areas are designated by contract. And so there's there isn't any doubt in my mind where the line is. I just don't know how it was created.
And does your area, Deanna, go beyond just Woodstock, or Len just said a little bit of Heartland?
Well, our towns that we receive town funding from, and we would get the grant money through the agencies on aging, would be Woodstock, Taftsville, Barnard, Bridgewater, and Pomfret. We do have some people in Heartland Hill, and there's just some sort of reasonable lines that it's so far from Bugby, it sort of makes sense for us to do it.
Yeah.
And if we are that, close right on Route 4 in Queechee, it's the same with transportation. We try to help each other. But there have been places or times when people will call us and will say, well, that's really, you need to call Bugby for that. But we work together to make sure that someone can get them a meal. And like I said before, with this transportation and it's really closer to us, we can work with a volunteer to get that person a ride.
Yeah.
I just want to add, because it brought to mind when Deanna mentioned that we work together, and the lady who asked the question about do we do Meals on Wheels out in West Hartford has left. But we had an individual one time that lived as far out in Pomfret as you could live and still be in Pomfret, which technically made it a Thompson Center individual, but they were about 50 yards from one of our routes. And so, we worked together, we delivered the meal to the individual, and it turned out that one of my kitchen staff was actually friendly with this particular gentleman, and it just made sense for us to do it. It would have been probably a 22, 23 mile round trip for one of Deanna's people to do it, and it only took us about a mile off our beaten path. So we're free to make these kind of arrangements if it just makes sense.
That's great.
We should add too that if you're interested in any of these programs and wanted to drive for either of us one day a week or anytime, that would help us to be able to extend our reach into areas that are, more difficult for us too.
I didn't mean to have you work so hard.
I'm just wondering from all that you've said, where exactly does Queechee fit in? Are we part of Hartford?
Yeah, Queechee is in the township of Hartford. Now, having said that, and having said earlier that I live in East Barnard, I also know that sometime in the past when people drew lines in Vermont, they didn't know how they drew them either. So for instance, people identify as being East Barnardites who live in Pomfret, Royalton, or Sharon. And I'm not so sure there aren't people who live in Queechee who say they're in West Hartford and vice versa. So sometimes the lines aren't clearly defined, but in terms of the township of Hartford clearly encompasses what I think we all understand to be Queechee.
The town of Hartford includes 5 villages, and Queechee is one of the villages. It's White River Junction, Wilder, Hartford Village, West Hartford, and Queechee. So it's those 5 villages that are part of the town, and the select board, the municipal building is based in White River Junction. And actually, the select board meetings take place at the Bugby Senior Center.
Well, not anymore. Now that they have
No,
rehabilitated Town Hall, they're back at Town Hall now.
Okay.
Because I'm on the planning commission and we also have meetings at the budget.
Did you?
In
You were
between the
disrupted.
time
Yeah.
when the municipal building was being renovated and also we hadn't quite moved into those temporary offices.
Yeah. And then we discovered that, which we sort of didn't realize, that Queechee kind of has a relationship with Woodstock. Also, obviously, we're kind of right on the border. Taftsville is part of Woodstock. And the Ottaquechee Health Foundation, which is kind of a health group, that mostly handles money and now this caregiver service in Woodstock, specifically includes Queechee in their catchment area because they define that based on who uses the Ottaquechee Health Center. And so Queechee, as a village of Hartford, is part of that foundation's area, even though the other villages of Hartford are not. But it gives us some resources and some opportunities that, that really are pretty broad compared to some other places. It's actually very nice. And it's nice to see that you guys work together and you can actually use common sense. It's like, wow.
We just don't let the state hear about it.
Yeah, it is kind of funny though. You know, you get a little older and all of a sudden you go, hey, how about a little common sense here? Let's see.
Really the only time that the lines matter at all, and then that's where the reasonableness comes in, is the Meals on Wheels and the medical rides.
Yeah.
Everything else is completely open.
Open to everything.
So you can go wherever you want.
Yeah, and just that is a great thing to know. It's not, you know, there's some funding for some of these programs, but these guys can exercise common sense, and everything really is open. And the Aging Resource Center, I've found, is a very welcoming place.
We have folks that bounce around to different centers for the meal. It's like bar hopping. And you know, they'll come to the Thompson one day, they like what they're having, or there's an activity that draws them, and then the next we'll see them at Bugby, and I know they're doing the same thing with the Lebanon Center, so that's okay,
that's right.
You know. We don't ask any questions, welcome aboard. So.
We're not affiliated with any town or any, you know, we're our own building, so you can bring wine and beer to us.
Whoa, did you hear that? Nobody asked that question.
We're up all friends.
You are affiliated with a town.
You just need to put it in a brown paper bag and kind of hang out by the dumpster.
So anybody have any more questions? All right, then I think we're done. A reminder again, please complete your evaluation forms. We really do want to know what you want and what you think. And also remember that on the table out here there is a, I know that you guys have something for people to sign up for the mailing lists. Do you have anything, or should we set something up? Yeah, let's put a piece of paper over there for the Aging Resource Center. So if you want to sign up to be on a mailing list, you're going to have to say whether you want email or not, right?
The options there.
Yeah. Okay, so just make sure for all of them that you do that. Thank you so much again for coming, and we hope to see you again in August.